and everybody was highly advanced, but eventually their I guess talents in each group got so big, or they started feeding off their own medicine to where they had disagreements on who was better and who had more power, and so they split off, which led to the demise of Atlantis. But that's a interesting thing there to me. Like, you got the spiritual approach, or you can say that was the magical approach in some sense. I guess the unseen energy, you could kind of connect that together, and then the technology and the science, can kind of be connected together. But to me, they're not really intended to be separate. But I guess in the ego state of man, they were constantly separating those things and saying one is the real, one is not. But maybe that's a whole different conversation, more philosophical. But
before I forget, I just want to jump right in. You were talking about airplanes and mythology, and I got a perfect example of that actually. I think it was either during the Korean War or the Vietnam War when we started landing planes on islands that had tribal cultures that had never seen planes before, and they started to look upon the planes as sort of deities, and they actually make like bamboo airplanes to kind of represent the deity, the gods, us as the gods flying in like our chariots out of the sky kind of idea. And it's pretty, like I don't remember where I saw it, but they literally had bamboo airplanes, and they were sending gifts before it, and when the war ended, the planes stopped coming. So they were thinking that the gods had abandoned them,
Yeah, I mean, that could explain for so much. I mean, it really is interesting, because I'm totally familiar with what you're talking about. And in my experience, I've been able to see somewhat of that symbology of flying objects pretty much in every culture. I mean, whether you're in South America, Central America, Egypt, in the Middle East even. I mean, there's all these artifacts and hieroglyphs of seeming to be flying objects. So it makes a lot of sense, and a lot of these cultures didn't really have archives. They're not like making these more tribalistic cultures didn't have like a great library with all their histories from their forefathers. So like it was like such a free-form lifestyle that when new things came into play, they just came into play and people experienced them and they left, and there's not much left behind besides maybe a drawing or some type of a ceremony or something that they used to do when they seen it. So it's a really interesting topic, and it's like, are we those gods? Is the West at the time that they had this technology considered the gods that we're actually, as the children, they're trying to learn about today? Are they real or not? So I thought that was an interesting cycle, like you got the first planes coming to these countries, the tribesmen seeing them and documenting them the best way they know how. Generations later, some of us go to college and become, we researchers of these cultures, and we go there and we study their religion, and some of these people convert to their religions as they study it, and maybe it all got started from some weird technology, back in the day. I always thought that was an interesting loop,
Well, what's cool is like we're talking about here is like that's the cool thing about RPGs. You can really take mythological concepts like the sun is a chariot in the sky, and you can really, if you really want to crank up the mythological aspect of your campaign, you can do that. The sun can literally look like a flying chariot in the sky if you wanted to do that. That's the freedom, and I think that's why a lot of us modern day people seem to have latched on to RPGs, because our real gritty modern day world, it lacks sort of the wonder and the aspect of these earlier cultures, I think. I guess we have our own, kind of things like, the Easter Bunny and, Santa Claus and blah, 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 all this kind of stuff where, magical people come out of the sky and get on your chimney. But it's, as children we have that sort of wonder. And as we get older, as we quote unquote grow up, we lose these things, and there's, I guess, sort of like a void. There's no mythology. Well, it depends, I'm not going to say anything about, person's beliefs or whatever, but just the idea that I think that's what's cool about RPGs, is that you can kind of fill that void with the mythology for a campaign or mythology for a setting, and depending on if you like that or not, you can crank it up or lower it down. Yeah, and
it's like as simple as the art of storytelling. It's like I feel like a lot of that is we don't pay attention to that as much as our cultures we should. You know, it's like, you know, I mean, even my family, we're all very close. It's just me, my wife, and my son. But we have all three different angles of life, and we're always doing different stuff. And it's very hard to get us all down at one table, you know, and sharing a story, making, you know, creating something together. And I think I relate to, like I've done a lot of different things in life. I've juggled a lot of different, you know, hobbies and interests, and a lot of them have slowed down. But my increase of RPGs has, you know, been 100-fold. I mean, it's in a way, I'm kind of putting myself in shock, because I'm like thinking about how much I've been putting into it lately, and I'm kind of wondering, why am I doing this? You know, but there is something really in it that it's feeding that hole right now of like wanting to tell a story, you know, wanting to be around a campfire and say a ghost story, or you know, make people smile and have emotional feelings just from a story. And there's something very powerful about that. It's probably one of the most powerful feelings I've felt as a person, to be able to create from your head and have other people emotionally affected by it, and have interest and want to know what happens next, and then them themselves are connected to the characters that you might be representing in the story. And to me, there's something very great. It's a gift. I'm glad that I'm able to feel that, come back into it at an older age and feel it like I did back then. You know, at first I was saying, like, you know, I'm reminiscing, and I probably won't feel that way again. I'm going to search for it and not find it. But, you know, to my surprise, I found it, and it's awesome. Sparking me every day. You know, it's like, you know, I wake up thinking about it. You know, I go to sleep thinking about it. You know, I'm having dreams about it. So it's doing wonders right now. You know, I mean, I'm 36, about to be 37. And yeah, I got re-sparked around 35. So, you know, hopefully that's an example to a lot of older people, or they're hitting, you know, the older age, that you can still, you know, you can be rebirthed in a lot of different interests. You can find things in life at an older time, or, you know, as you get older, that you might have didn't think you could. Just give it a chance. You never know, you know. And in this world of such, you know, pay the bills and, you know, and all that, it's like, who got time for the make-believe? You know, that's silliness, you know. But, you know, it's I feel like it's doing a lot more than my multivitamin right now. I can tell you that.
Well, that's the thing that people, I don't know, I think the modern day world just doesn't appreciate creativity, doesn't appreciate a person's imagination as much. It's more, you know, you're a cog in the machine, you better spin as fast as we want you to spin, and if you break, we're going to throw you away and get out another cog to fit your place. Yeah. And it's very cold. Like, at times it feels very cold. And again, it's not. I'm not, you know, trying to paint this horrible, bleak picture, because, you know,
it can feel that way though at sometimes.
It definitely can feel that way at sometimes. And for those of us that are in a job where, like I said, I worked at UPS and I loaded boxes into a truck. That's not very appealing. It's not, you know, you can't be very creative. It's like, scan the barcode, put it in the truck. Scan the barcode, you know, that sort of thing. And for me, in that kind of lifestyle, or whatever, when I lived that way, it was nice to be able to, you know, fill that gap with the mythology of a setting, or to really just start creating something of my own. I wanted to say too that, like, Tolkien even called it like sub-creation, you know, where you make, like, it's like, you know, the world was, you know, created, or, you know, began, however you want to look at it, and then we ourselves have the ability to make these fake places and make them as realistic as we want them to be. And it's kind of like a cool idea, you know. It's like a, you know, I don't know, just like a mini creation, I guess, is what you're saying. You know what he was saying. So
yeah, I mean, it's definitely healthy, I think, because, you know, one of the things I think, to be more technical about it, is like, you're making decisions that you probably want to make in life, but you're not in the right situation to make them in real life. Really tough decisions, stuff that you might not have power to make. It might not even be in your power to make certain decisions. But we can practice those things, you know. We can search different aspects of ourselves that maybe we like or don't like. I think that's really important to say we don't like. You know, there's a side of me that when I'm a player, and if I'm playing certain characters and the things that I want to do as that character, I'm like, wow, man, you know, like, that's not really me in this world, but is it? You know, I have to think about it and what's attracting me to play these things or play certain characters. And I think it's really what it is that I know these certain experiences of characterization exist around me, and I have to deal with them as I live my life. But I don't really yet understand what it is that I'm dealing with until I try to be it. So to kind of tie that back in all the way to the world setting topic here, and world building and setting and map making, is that, you know, I'm not trying to get on the religious and so many different things, but
that's fun.
If there is a God in whatever shape or form, what would it be like, and what would be his trials and tribulations of creating a planet, creating beings, and kind of taking care of them, and like, however you want to look at that, it's all different. But to me, it was like a way, it's like, wow, man, I'll run into some of those quirks. Like, dang, if I was really making this, if I really made the earth, and this is what you really have, see, what we make is like flawed times 1 million, it's like our inhabitants would be completely mad at us. And like, they would definitely not, like, well, you didn't do this. You didn't think about the grain field, and, you didn't think about how we was going to get pure water and
all the consequences.
But it kind of helped me understand how big and how much depth there really is to the universe, the planet, and that creator being, how much responsibility it must have, to keep it going.
Lots of power and lots of responsibility.
So it gave me a lot of respect in that side of life, in a sense. If somebody's listening, might not be that, if they're not really in that spiritual zone or religious zone, and if they have questions, designing your own idea of a planet or a place or a city or a character or a race, sometimes that can teach you a lot. That can teach you a lot of what it is to be human, what it is, it showed me the similarities in all of us all over the planet, that, it all comes down to the basic things. It doesn't matter if you're building a setting in the west or the east, north or south, you're going to run into some of those same things when you're dealing with beings. So, there's a lot of good things to pull out of RPGs, I think. And world building and map making and setting creation and all that is probably what pulled me in the most in my older age. I'm getting the most out of that part right now. Playing is fun because as much as I want to DM instead, I'd rather play right now just for the sake of meeting people. It's a lot easier for me to like go to a game and play than it is running a game, because there's a lot more adversity, I guess, about running a good game and making sure everybody's comfortable. I can't really do that yet because, the people I'm meeting are new to me. So like the part of meeting people as a player is a little bit easier. So it's broadening my world of people who I hang with and talk with, and that's important to me, So I don't mind being a player in this world of RPGs for a while, for that part of my life. If there's a tangible thing I can say right now about RPGs and what it's doing for me, is how many new people I've met in the last year and a half or 2 years here. That's just been amazing people on YouTube and in my neighborhood. It's just been a great experience on that level.
Yeah, I've definitely met and talked to several people on Skype and just in comments and video responses and such that, like I said, I feel really welcomed, and it's a really cool community when everyone, you just can get along pretty much for the most part and talk about different things, even when we have differences of opinion. The one thing is we are over a half an hour, so is there any sort of closing remark you want to do or say? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I'll just say this has been a great year or two here with the YouTube community, and I've learned a lot. And I almost miss a lot of you guys as friends that I haven't seen in a long time. I'm trying to get soft now, because I'll punch in the arm too when we're together. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, it's been a great experience, and I've met some good people, and it really inspired a lot of my other crafts in life. And that's the main thing I like to say is thanks to everybody for keeping my pen writing and my brush painting, and and my eyes reading.
I think my closing remarks are: don't be afraid to incorporate different real-world cultures, different religious ideas, blend them, mix them, throw them in a grinder, and whatever comes out, feel free to manipulate and twist it and incorporate it in all kinds of weird and funky ways into your settings. Don't be afraid to mess with things a little bit. All right, Jeremiah, it's been a good talk, and I guess I'll hit stop here, and I'll talk to you sometime soon.
All right, man.
All right,
Take
bye.
it easy.